Welcome to the Unfiltered Show from the Score Studios. My name's Joseph Casciaro. No rant or monologue off the top today. We're going to get right into a mega playoff preview. And who better to do that with than friends of the show, the co-hosts of the Hello and Welcome podcast, William Liu and Alex Wong. My guys, what's going on?
What's going on, man? I can't wait to do the whole playoffs right now, man.
Yeah,
you have
so
to watch
excited,
the playoffs.
man.
You got to watch this. We'll tell you what's going to happen, and then you just go to the championship parade.
That's all you need.
In
That's all you
Boston.
need.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
you got NBA fans got what they needed. They got play-in fever, and then they just get our picks. They don't have to watch the actual playoffs. All right, before we dig in, any stray play-in thoughts, or does the fact that I'm even asking you that make you throw up in your mouth a little bit?
Yeah, speaking of play-in fever, I am sick. I'm sick of watching 9-10 matchups. I'm sick of watching Bulls Heat for, I believe, the third straight year. Adam Silver, you got a lot of fixing to do. Let's just go back to the 1-8 matchups, can we?
No. I disagree. I thought the Warriors-Grizzlies game was the only good game, but at the same time, that was a really good game. That you gave us a lot of great moments. I think the stakes are good too. You know what I mean? Like some of the if you're a 10 seed, you really have to like if you're the Mavs, you really should win 2 games just to get a chance to lose to OKC.
Yeah.
Those are not
You're
stakes.
going to earn that right.
I kind of like that. Yeah.
I like, and we were just talking a bit off air too. I like the fact that it does incentivize playoff teams that otherwise would have just been coasting the last couple weeks of the season, resting guys. It incentivizes them to keep playing through game 82 or close to it because you don't want to end up in the play-in. So if you're like a 5 or 6 seed in a tight conference, you're like, damn, we got to actually bust our asses till game 81 or 82 because we don't want to end up in the play-in. I like that. It, added a little more meaning longer in the season. But to Alex's point, I mean, I don't think we need the 10 seeds in there. And I know sometimes in the West it'll work out that the 10 seed is actually a pretty competitive team.
Sure.
But this year, I mean, I say that, and then it's like, well, the 10 seed actually won both games so far. So.
Every team last night in the 9-10 was below 500.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what are we watching?
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, I did like the Kings waiting 1 minute exactly when
Hey.
the game was over, being like, "Hey, by the way, Monty McNair, you're gone too."
They were just waiting on the result of that 9-10 game. If the Kings had won that game, he got the official 9 seed, he could have saved his job. But,
Wow, this guy was
all right.
sweating.
I'll definitely have time later this spring to clown the Kings and the Bulls. But for right now, let's talk about the teams that are actually in the playoffs, will actually be competing to lift the Larry O'Brien trophy. We're going to do this series by series, round by round, until we each come up with a winner. So right off the bat, I'm just going to say this so we can save some time here. Unless one of you thinks the Cavs or Thunder might actually get pushed or a bit in round 1, can we skip the 1 versus whoever the 8 is in each round, or do you guys actually have some thoughts on that?
I think we're pretty good. I think I'm expecting Cleveland and OKC to sweep both their series. So
Here's
no concerns. Here.
Okay, how about this? Over, under 1.5 combined first-round losses.
Give me the under on score bet. Yeah.
I mean, man, I think the only maybe thing is
To not say Miami.
Dallas with all their size maybe gives
God.
OKC some struggles in a game they missed.
I didn't know Nico Harrison was in the studio today.
Defense wins championships.
Guys, you didn't see that defense man? AD was swatting. I mean, honestly, the Kings.
Swatting who? Trey Lyles?
Yeah, Trey Lyles can score
are
an
we doing,
AD.
man?
No, that's maybe the only one that even gives them slight pause. But more than anything else, it's good for these first seeds and second seeds and to just have a whole week off. You know what's coming at you, and then you're just relaxing. You get to heal a little bit. You played hard all regular season. You deserve a bit of a week off, basically, before you actually get going. And yeah, these are both going to be sweeps.
Yeah, I think so too. At most, maybe one gets pushed to 5. But okay, let's go to the second seeds then. Start in the East. Boston, Orlando. So the Magic actually won the season series 2-1 against Boston. And as we know, Jaylen Brown's right knee, I think he's going to play in game 1, but it does seem like there's some reason for pause there for the defending champions going into what would be a 9-week title defense. They're going to need him. So he's banged up. Magic won the season series. Does that give either of you hope that Orlando actually has a puncher's chance in this or not?
I mean, I think, what are the stats? Orlando's actually pretty good at guarding the 3 in general. And obviously Boston is going to shoot 53s no matter what. The thing is, I think maybe in general doesn't necessarily apply to the Celtics who, will shoot basically 1 through 5. I think they have, especially the way and the style that they play. I mean, you look at the way Orlando played in that play-in game, you're just like, that's not unexpected. Sometimes they'll get on a roll, they'll use their size, their defense looks imposing, and it looks good for a while. and then they'll just go for like a whole quarter without being able to score at all, and that was just against the Atlanta Hawks. So no, I think Boston, especially with their championship experience, everything like that, they're well stacked. And even honestly, even if you told me Jaylen Brown missed the whole series, I'd still pick Boston.
Yeah, I don't think Orlando's the team that's going to exploit that for them.
No.
Yeah, like Jaylen Brown, injury concern probably more for the longer term. Just two different level tiers of teams here, right? I think Boston is going to dominate in this series. I don't really give Orlando a chance. I don't think this is a good matchup for them. That Boston offense is not a team, I think, even with Orlando's like decent defense that they can stop. So I think this will be a pretty quick series.
Yeah, and Boston's defense is still elite, and Orlando can't score. So yeah, this is a playoff team versus a play-in team right here. All right, we're all going Celtics there.
Yeah.
Let's keep going down the East. The 3-6, the Knicks and the Pistons. Pistons back in the playoffs for the first time in 6 years, looking to win the franchise's first playoff game, not series, game since 2008.
Wow.
Okay, think about that. And then on the Knicks side, obviously a lot of expectations, everything they gave up from Cal Bridges, getting Karl Anthony Towns in there. They did win 51 games. I'm interested to see both of your thoughts on the Knicks and this series, because I think you can make the argument the Knicks are paper tigers in some ways. They went 0-10 against the league's top 3 teams. I believe they went 15-23 against 500 or better teams in general. Their defense really took a step back this season. It's been better since Mitchell Robinson got back, but he's also not starting. Like, there's a bunch going on where you could look at the Knicks and be like, they're paper tigers. At the same time, you look at the talent. They did win 51 games. Like I said, the defense did get better with Mitchell Robinson in the lineup. Could they? Let's start, I guess, with just the task at hand.
Yeah.
Any problems with the Pistons if you're the Knicks?
Oh, for sure. The Knicks are not really a bankable team just fully yet. I think the things that you can like reliably say is that Brunson is going to be incredible, especially in crunch time. I think when you look at the Pistons side, they might throw like an Asar Thompson on Jalen, and of course that athleticism is next level, but Jalen Brunson's experience and the way he's able to, especially in the playoffs, like draw a foul, come up with a big shot here or there. He's definitely not afraid of taking any shots. I think last year's playoff run was like pretty much what I expect again here. The reason I say the Knicks aren't bankable is I just don't trust their defense. I think Cade Cunningham has given OG and Anunoby problems, and OG is one of the best wing defenders in the league, if not the best wing defender in the league. I remember a game in his rookie season, Cade Cunningham, first time facing OG, was able to knock down multiple big shots down the stretch and still get the win. And it was like, he has this like great combination of size and shot creation. He gets to the rim a lot. And I think, it'll be a real issue because I really struggle to see how both teams guard each other. I think also with Cat stretching it out, the Pistons usually, can offer like, there's Jalen Duren, and then there's Isaiah Stewart, who, besides fighting, is actually quite good on defense.
He's had a tremendous defensive season for a really good defensive team.
He defends in all contexts, you know what I mean? In fights, and he attacks more in fights, actually. But that's the thing, though. Like, you'll get that spaced out with Cat as well. So, I don't know. For me, I actually saw this game going to 7. I think this could be a really classic series. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So you still got the Knicks winning it, but you think they're getting pushed to the limit.
I want to see 7 games. That's my hope, actually. I want to see 7 of this.
Yeah,
series.
I have this going a bit deeper, too. I think I picked the Knicks in 6 games. I don't think it's going to be a particular easy series for the Knicks because of their inconsistency. And I'm curious, too, from a storyline perspective, like every time a team plays the Knicks in the playoffs, a villain emerges. So you've got Trae Young in Atlanta last year. Tyrese Halliburton was the villain. Joel Embiid a little bit, too, in the first round. I'm trying to think of who's the guy that the Garden is really going to go against.
I think we already mentioned.
I mean, Beef Stew is the obvious pick. I'm going with Malik Beasley. I think Malik Beasley is going to shimmy his way into a villain role in this series. So,
I like that.
The Pistons are so funny because it's like you watch them, you're like, how does this work? How is it that Malik Beasley is like the second most prolific 3-point shooter in the whole season?
Man,
incredible
he
year,
set a
man.
Pistons franchise record. For
incredible year, yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's incredible. Tobias Harris has had a nice turnaround season. He plays a big role for them. I think he can post up certain matchups and maybe draw a couple double teams and play out of that. But you're just like, what are we talking about? Like, how is that? Like Tim Hardaway Jr. is coming back to the Garden. It works. It works.
I think it was a couple weeks ago on our show. I talked about obviously the Pistons turnaround, how great of a story it was, and I showed like the biggest year-to-year improvements in NBA history, like the top 7, which the Pistons ended up, I think, like 5th. Like that's how huge this improvement was. But if you looked at all those other like historic year-to-year improvements, it was a team that drafted Tim Duncan or David Robinson, or a team that drafted Larry Bird or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or a team that traded for Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett, or you know what I mean? It's like teams that very obviously made Hall of Fame acquisitions after being bad the year before. Whereas the Pistons, to your point, added Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and Tim Hardaway Jr. But I do think it's a testament to the fact that they desperately needed some adults in the room, and they desperately needed some shooting and spacing around Cade. They have it. They've had this good year. And according to you guys, they're going to push the Knicks. I mean, we're all in agreement the Knicks are going to win. I think it'd be a great story if the Pistons could push them. The new Malice at the Palace is going to be Beef Stew chasing Spike Lee in the stands. This is just
Tom Thibodeau just hanging on to Ron Holland's leg.
Ron Holland will get in a
I'm
fight
ready.
too. Forgot about him.
I'm ready.
By the way, that stat you're mentioning, that reminds me of the Thad Young stat, man. Remember that graphic of
28-year-olds with 1,500 points.
Yeah, it was like
600 assists.
619 assists. Like, it's just the most random
It's
numbers.
like LeBron, Larry Bird, and Thad
Young, baby.
This is my second gripe with Adam Silver today, is that because the first round is now best of 7 and it's spaced out, all this stuff. If this was an old school best of 5 series, I would give the Pistons a chance.
Same.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same, yeah.
I can
But
see that.
with the margin for error bigger for the better teams,
Yeah.
bigger
The
sample
first round
size.
is always skewed towards the favorites now.
Last note on Pistons Knicks is that, again, obviously it's a great story. Happy for Pistons fans. It's great, basketball culture there. It's good that they have a playoff team to cheer for again. There is a little part of me, and it's not like no Detroit hate or anything, but just because I kind of like these ongoing stories, or like when droughts get really long.
Oh, you want them to get swept?
There is
to
a
keep
part
it
of
going?
me. There's a part of me that kind of wants to see them get swept, just so that we can keep talking about how long it's been since they've recorded a single playoff.
Yeah, we went through this on our show, and the last game that they won was 2008 conference finals against the Celtics. The leading scorer in that game was Antonio McDyess. That's how long it's been.
Shouts out to
You know what? Sorry, Pistons fans. Kind of want you to get swept just so we can bring that up again in 2026.
I'm curious to see how Cade looks in the playoffs too, because that's the thing where it's like he's had such a great season, and it's like, is his trajectory going to be like clear-cut All-NBA type player for the rest of his career in his prime? Because like this would be the kind of moment to sort of announce that, or is it like, wait, hold on, like is this a bit of a Mickey Mouse season? Because like, I mean, I don't even think anything Cade did was not legit, but I do feel like when you look at the supporting pieces, you're like, I mean, come on, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Last East first round matchup, a rematch. Pacers, Bucks. Dame not ready to go for game 1. Obviously, the Bucks do have the best player in the series in Giannis, but the Pacers were the better team all year. They have home court advantage. Also, since Tyrese Halliburton got right and started looking healthy, and he came on strong, that Pacers team started looking real good. The two-man game with him and Pascal, their offense is unbelievable. So what's going on here? Are the Pacers going to beat the Bucks again, or is Giannis going to carry Milwaukee through?
I think, look, if we're going to go through this whole thing where you go back 2 years ago and they make the huge trade, they steal Dame. Dame was supposed to go to Miami. Dame's like, I'm going through a divorce. I want to be in Miami for this divorce. They're like, nope, Milwaukee. You're going to Milwaukee for this thing. And for 2 playoff series, we don't get a healthy Dame and Giannis. It would just be such a disappointment, especially from Milwaukee's side. But I like the Pacers, but I like this in a long series too. I like this in 7. I think both teams have distinct advantages over each other. I think the physicality of Giannis and even Brook, especially more on the defensive end, but I think they can really impose themselves and capture a couple wins even without Dame in the series. The rest of Milwaukee's depth is hilarious. It's like, why is Ryan Rollins the starting point guard? And
Ryan freaking Rollins.
Kyle Kuzma's their defensive stopper on the perimeter. I'm like, whoa. And then Kevin Porter Jr. comes off the bench. It's like, it's just a lot of like, exactly. It's a lot of yikes. But at the same time, I feel like there's something about the Pacers where they even when you watch them, they never look fully dominant. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of like relying on pushing the break, playing fast. That is their identity. I think, especially for an older team like Milwaukee, they might struggle with that. But yeah, ultimately, I think Indiana has more quality, more depth, and I mean, Halliburton, man. His assist to turnover ratio is like
unbelievable.
6.5 on the season. It's nuts.
Yeah, I also picked the Bucks. I picked the Pacers in 7 because just out of respect to Giannis.
Yeah.
Just I think Giannis is capable of winning a couple games in this series. I do wish Dame was healthy. I think if Dame was healthy, I'd probably lean towards Milwaukee just because how well Giannis has been playing. But this is like when 2018 LeBron had to go against a Pacers team in the first round and he was able to get it done. I don't think Giannis is going to be able to get it done with this team. We talk about like second and third bananas on like all these teams. Like who are the Bucks' second and third guys?
Kyle Kuzma, man.
They don't have
like it's looking
They
tough.
don't have any second or third, but they
No,
got
like
some like 6-month old stale plantains in the back of the room, locker room kind of thing. There's no
can still
second
fry
or
that up,
third
yeah.
banana here, dude.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you look down the roster and very quickly you're like, okay, I don't think they're going to be winning 4 games in this series. But out of respect to Giannis, I'll pick this going 7.
I think we're actually all on the same page here, right? Pacers in 7. But the only thing that does make me nervous about that, even though I think the Pacers are the better team, they'll be at home, is it's really hard for me to like pick against the best player in a series if it gets to a 7th game. Like we know how it goes in a sport like basketball where the best player can dominate the way they can. So I think even though I'm picking Pacers in 7, I feel like if it actually gets to a game 7, it's going to be hard for me to envision Giannis losing that game.
Yeah, this is a great rivalry though. Like,
it is.
This is like a mid-tier like level rap beef. Like
Yeah,
this isn't
mid-tier,
Like, this
yeah.
isn't Kendrick versus Drake. This is like I don't know what's
It's
like a
J.
mid-tier-
Cole versus someone.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Wale versus like Matt Devlin.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Shout out Matty D, man.
Hey,
Shout out
In this case, Matty D is Giannis.
I was gonna say in this case, Matty D won that beef too. By the way, so
All right, let's move to the West when we're talking first
Oh,
round.
finally, real basketball.
We already said the Thunder are coasting to the second
Thank
round.
God.
So we'll go to when things really start getting interesting. 2 versus 7, Houston versus Golden State. This is going to be a great matchup. I've got the Warriors winning it, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on this question. Do you see this as the classic bad matchup for the Rockets, the classic bad matchup for a surprising young team where it's like, of course, they had to draw the battle-tested championship pedigree team of legends? Or do you actually see it as a horrible matchup for Golden State because they're a small team that now has to go up against this like behemoth front court? The Rockets will play Şengün and Adams a lot. Şengün also beasts the Warriors a lot. Like which kind of side of the coin do you see it?
I think that's what makes it such a compelling series, right? Because you could see it really going either way. I think, especially for the Warriors side, they're small and they're old, man. That's when I was watching the Grizzlies game. I'm like, I don't know. Like, obviously, they won it at the end. Steph Curry looked amazing. I thought he should have pulled on the night when he hit those 2 threes, especially the one where he traveled on, but it's all good. It's like, man, over the course of that game, like the way Memphis looked young and they're able to get to the rim, even Ja Morant on a bad ankle was still getting around their perimeter defenders. There's a lot of Buddy Hield. I'm like, man, this ain't the old Warriors team. At the same time, though, playoff series, I always could give the edge to the experience more than anything else. So I do like the Warriors in that sense. I think for me, when I envision the Rockets in a close game down the stretch, who is taking that shot? What are they running? You know, what's so innovative and whatever? Like, I could see them getting a big defensive stop. No problem. That's Ime Udoka's team. But who is the guy taking a big shot in Houston?
That's the big problem for them, right? Is like what's keeping them from being a true championship contender, in my opinion, is they don't have that championship level shot creator, shot maker. And Jalen Green thinks he's him, but he's not.
Yo, don't worry, man. Fred VanVleet's playoff shooting percentages are going to come back, man.
All right, let's go. Okay, so we went
Is there another
Warriors.
baby on the way?
Warriors, we've gone chalk all the way through so far. Are you about to give us a
Yeah,
variety?
I took the Rockets.
Let's go.
You know, I think Cash, you make up a good point about like what type of series this should look like. It does remind me a little bit of when the Kings had to play the Warriors a couple of years ago. You saw that experience versus youth. I think about last year too. I think, you know, when Minnesota drew Phoenix, everybody was, you know, worried about Minnesota getting out in the first round, and Minnesota swept them, got rid of them really quickly. I understand the concerns about Houston, but I think, you know, they're just so physical, and over the course of a 7-game series, they can wear you down. The crunch time is a worry, but I can see the Rockets running the Warriors out of the gym in a couple of these games. And they do have the experience there. I know for as much as we talk about like Fred been struggling shooting, like it's not like a team just full of young guys. Like Dylan Brooks has experience, Fred has experience. And I don't know, I really like that team. I feel like we're underrating what they did in the regular season. And I like this Houston team. So I'm going with the Rockets.
Do you think they can play 2 bigs against the Warriors? Because I feel like that's 2 guys that Steph can just run around for dribble handoffs against.
I think that's what'll make it fascinating too, right? Because I think if Houston goes all in, leaning into the size advantage, I do think it opens up some defensive issues for them, and all of a sudden the defense that they've been relying on all year isn't quite what it is, and now it's like maybe it's the Warriors running them off the court.
That's the thing. It's like Steph is like that ultimate equalizer, especially for bigs. It's like whether it's Adams, whether it's Şengün, both those guys are better in drop. Şengün could probably come out a little bit too, but I think especially, the Warriors have seen every style of defense, but I do worry, can you actually play those 2 bigs together? And I think it's like, this is basically one of those, like, what kind of whistle does Draymond Green get? Because he's already going to be on the size of disadvantage against Şengün in the first place. He's smaller and stuff like that too. But like, I don't know. Sometimes Draymond gets a generational whistle, man. Also, is he gonna kick Steven Adams
He'll
in the
be
balls?
stomping on Shengun's chest by game 3.
What about Steven Adams,
anything
man?
to win.
That's another classic victim of Draymond's.
Oh man, you know what? I didn't even think of that. Oh, I'm more excited for this series than I was
you
2
go.
minutes ago, and I was already pretty excited.
Yeah, but you got Dylan Brooks in there again.
This is gonna be good.
There's gonna be at least one fight in this series
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and I can't wait. Okay, so Warriors, Rockets. Let's move to what I believe is going to be the series of the first round. Two teams that, at least in their own minds, can convince themselves they are legit contenders. We got the Lakers as a 3 seed. We got the Wolves as the 6 seed. We had Anthony Davis giving props to LeBron in his respect, but also saying the night they found out about the matchup, essentially he doesn't care who they have to play. They're going to play him. We know Ant is built for the moment. I think it's going to be such a great matchup. And I think what's really interesting about this is obviously you think about the Lakers as a team that made the biggest midseason addition probably in NBA history. Add Luka Doncic. Look more like a contender since they got Luka, no doubt. But I think what people are kind of sleeping on and why I think the Timberwolves might be the most underrated team in the playoff field, they also got a lot better as the year went on, and the Timberwolves were better than the Lakers post-Luka.
They were, yeah.
The Timberwolves have been really good for a while now. They seem to have figured things out with Randall in the mix. The defense is still legit. I think this might be the most underrated team in the entire playoff field. I say all that, and I still went Lakers in 7 because at the end of the day, this is kind of similar to what I was saying in that Bucks-Pacers series where I was like, I'm picking Pacers in 7, but would I really pick against Giannis in that series if it goes to a winner-take-all? I think Lakers-Wolves is such a good matchup. It will go 7, and I would feel like an idiot and almost like betraying everything I know about basketball and what I've watched over the years. If in a winner-take-all Game 7, I pick against the team that has Luka Doncic and LeBron friggin' James on it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, the Minnesota finished the season 17-4 in the last 21 games, man. Like that was a great run. They were firmly in like the play-in territory. They were firmly a disappointing team. It was like you watch that game and you're just like, okay, Ant takes every shot. He goes ISO every time. And it's like, is that it? Like, that can't be it, plus a good defense. They've really married that together. Your guy, Dante DiVincenzo,
the big ragu, strong. Baby.
Hey, man, the ragu, he's been cooking, man. He's simmering in that pot. But I think, for me, it's just like, if I were still going against Minnesota, I would just like try to trap Ant as much as possible, make the other guys beat me 4-on-3. And over the course of 7 games, I would also go with the Lakers on this one. We know also, too, J.J. Redick has run a pretty creative defense in general with sort of like how they sort of manage because they don't really have natural stoppers. Luka, obviously, not to beat Nico Harrison again, but defense wins championships.
He's fat.
Well, that's what he would say off the record to reporters with no cameras around, apparently. In LeBron's older, Austin Reeves. There's like multiple points that you can hit him at. They don't have a center either, really.
Yeah,
Aside
another
from
one of
Jackson
those
Hayes.
size versus small matchups. Yeah.
But ultimately, I trust JJ to be able to like come up with creative schemes over the course of a 7-game series because that's really the one guy in Minnesota you're afraid of.
Yeah,
with all due respect to everyone else.
And just the fact that they're able to stagger the minutes in LA and always having a LeBron or Luka on the floor. And their role players, too. Like, I think about just the role players on both teams. Like you mentioned, like the Wolves are going to need something from Julius Randle, and we know his playoff history. And then I'm looking at on the other side, like guys like Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves not a role player.
Yeah,
man.
no,
Come
but
on,
it's
man.
like you
star right
start
there.
going down and looking at these secondary players, right? Even my guy 7, Gabe Vincent, I believe is going to become the modern day Derek Fisher during this playoff run.
Wow.
This guy's the one and
there's
only
already-
Gabe Vincent fan in
And
the
there's
world.
already questions about like Rudy Gobert again. I saw he was getting asked yesterday about whether he thinks he'll be on the court against this team down the stretch.
Goddamn.
And then when you come down to it, it's Luka and LeBron, right? Like LeBron's going to turn it up. He knows he has a chance at potentially making a championship run. We've seen it, even at this age, we've seen him have monster games in the playoffs, and it's just hard to pick against these two guys.
Man.
All right, Lakers. Last matchup of the first round. Another really, really interesting matchup. Nuggets, Clippers. The Nuggets have the best player in the world, and it's hard to bet against them in a best-of-7 series. They just won the championship 2 years ago. But this very much gives me the vibes of a team who just needs to be put out of its misery. When you look at all the drama there, the fact that they literally just fired their head coach and general manager because they hated each other.
All this over
The
Zeke
Mike
Naji,
Breen
man.
double bang.
All this over
All this over Zeke Naji. What are we doing?
Yeah, so, Nuggets higher seed, home court advantage in the mile-high altitude. That's not nothing. But if we're being honest, if you're just looking at it since Kawhi returned to the lineup, and that includes him not even looking like himself for the first month he was back.
Yeah.
The Clippers have checked every box of a contender on both ends of the court since he's been back in the lineup. They're deep, they're balanced, they're a two-way team. If you look at Kawhi, like the last 4 weeks or so, looks very much back. You know, our guy Joe Wolfon made a good comment to me where he was saying, you know, it's almost like this is the 1 year where Kawhi finally got back at the perfect time, where he didn't get back too early where he's fatigued by the time the playoffs come around, but he came back early enough that he shook the rust off, and it's like, this might be the perfect kind of balance of getting Kawhi ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going Clippers here. I don't even think it's going 7. I've got Clippers in 6.
I got Clippers in 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I got Clippers in 6 too. I think.
Wow.
I think just this is not as much about Denver as it is, like Cash mentioned, about the Clippers. I think they're 19-3 in their last 22, and 2 of their losses was against Cleveland and OKC. And you look at their team, like it's perfectly built for the playoff run. Your only concern is Kawhi's health.
Yeah.
They have no concerns in crunch time. They have a great defense. Zubac is like an all-NBA player now this season, getting all-NBA third team.
Yeah, that campaign came out of nowhere.
Consideration.
But honestly, with all due respect, he's been great.
He's been incredible, and
Yeah.
honestly, I wouldn't vote for him in this regard, but I think I would not think it's crazy if someone has him as like a down ballot defensive player of the year guy. Like the Clippers ended up with the 3rd ranked defense, and
He's been really
Yeah.
good defensively. For
And
them.
and you know, for all the playoff faults of James Harden, he can slide into more of a playmaking role. Norman Powell is there. Like this is a very well built team, and the only thing you got to keep your fingers crossed is the injury report between games.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think the reason I was so confident in this series in terms of picking the Clippers is that like they have the type of ingredients that you need to go at Jokic with, which is you need to put Jokic in the pick and roll pretty much every single time. Like either tire him out or put some fouls on him. I think that's a clear-cut way that you can get at them defensively. In addition to the other factors, of course, you will probably want to involve Jamal Murray in that too. And then offensively, you have Zoo, who has the big body, who can like at least bang with Jokic for. Hopefully, you can cover him one-on-one. I mean, he's one of the greatest players ever, so good luck covering him one-on-one, even with anybody. But at the same time, if you're gonna pick a guy, Zubac has the
Great
size,
option.
the height. He stays down. He's not a guy who jumps a lot either. He's not gonna be jumping for fouls. Like, that's the part to me is like, yeah, even with Kawhi being like always a question mark if that's what he is, but I don't know, man. This team is just deeper too.
Yep.
Like you look at that Nuggets bench. Like,
Yeah.
which of those young guys that Calvin Booth was stocking them with, outside from Christian Brown?
Zeke Naji.
Zeke Naji gonna make a difference at power forward?
No, they're not deep, and this is one of those series where Jokic could average like 35 points and a triple-double, and they would still lose.
That's the whole season.
I literally think that's
whole
what's
season.
going to happen. Real quick, too, before we just recap our first round picks, I did want to mention, because, you mentioned James Harden's playoff history. We know how bad it's been, and how I used to have this saying: when the going gets tough, the tough get going. When the going gets tough, James Harden gets lost. But I will say this about him: I want to credit him for this.
Yeah.
James Harden doesn't get enough credit for being basketball's ultimate innings eater. In like baseball, you talk about that starter he's an innings eater. He's gonna be there every time, every fifth day. He's gonna take the ball. He's gonna get on the mound. He's gonna give you
Dave
7
Stewart
innings.
back in the
There
day.
you go.
Wow.
Jack Morris. But seriously, like James Harden rarely misses games. His efficiency is not going to be great at this stage of his career, but he's going to be able to shoulder a type of offensive load when you need him to when guys are out that most stars can't shoulder. And he's going to do that every other night from October through April, and then maybe he doesn't do it anymore once mid-April comes along. Come on. But there is a huge value in that, in having a star who's going to be available and can shoulder that load night in, night out, because you could talk about what happens in the playoffs, but you got to get to the playoffs to even have a shot.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason they've been able to do that this year is because of James Harden's career renaissance.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I'll give it
James
to
Harden, a real eater.
I'll give it to I'll give it to James too, in that we know his playoff resume, especially in elimination games, but it's, he's an up and down player in the playoffs, right? Like even thinking about that Sixers Celtics series when he put up, I think, 2 40-point performances, but was a dud in all the other games. He's kind of like us when we're in Vegas, Some nights we'll be up 500 at blackjack, and some nights we'll be down 500 at blackjack. You just got to catch Harden on those good nights and hope you get wins there, and then you've got the rest of the team to take care of the rest.
Just like you guys in Vegas, it just depends if you guys go home at 2 a.m. or 5 a.m.,
All right.
Harden.
And recapping our first round picks. All right, we got I'm going Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, Pacers, Thunder, Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, Will,
We have the same picks.
we have the exact same first
For the
round
first
picks,
round.
and the only difference is that Alex's bracket after round 1 has the Rockets in place of the Warriors.
You think Adam Silver's going to not let Lakers Warriors happen?
Oh, I've seen Adam Silver mess up the league enough the last few years that he could mess this one up too. Yeah.
Adam Silver about to put on a jersey himself, man. He put on a referee jersey.
Hey,
Yo, if the Rockets go up 3-1, I would not put that past them.
Yo, Game 7 is not Scott Foster anymore.
No, it's Scott Foster, Adam Silver, and Mark Tatum.
by God, that's Adam Silver's music. All right. Round 2. Let's get them. In the East, we all have the same matchup, so let's get to it. We all have Cavs, Pacers, second round. I got the Pacers beating the Bucks barely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're a solid second round, 50-ish win team in the Eastern Conference. This is now the big boy stage of the playoffs. The Cavs have been awesome all year.
Yeah.
They're a 64-win team with multiple stars that I just don't think the Pacers can beat.
Yeah, I think you'd have to almost invent a formula for the Pacers to sort of win this. I think they'd have to
An
really
injury or something. Like,
push the pace up and down. Yeah, an injury. I mean, the Cavs have been really healthy. I mean, that's look when you're really dominant all season, you have the ability to play your stars less minutes and stuff like that. Yeah, I think you would really need to see the Pacers be able to dictate the pace. I think the one thing with the Pacers last year, even if you look at the finals, when it was a surprise that the Pacers even made there into the East Finals, but like they had leads over even the Celtics. Like their pace and the way that they play really does give teams problems. I'd give the Pacers 2 games in this one because I haven't yet seen the Cavs be a dominant force in the playoffs.
Fair.
I mean, we haven't seen this 64-win team Cavs in the playoff setting just yet. But even last year, they took 7 to beat Orlando.
Yeah,
No one's
fair.
really impressed with the Cavs there, and then they got walloped by the Celtics. But ultimately, yeah, I think the Cavs. Yeah, I give them respect. 64 wins. That's a lot of wins.
it is.
And
Yeah, Cavs played themselves into this position where I think they deserve that respect. I
Sure.
think they're on a different tier as the Pacers. And like you mentioned too, when we talked about the first round, Pacers sometimes just on the fringes in close games and stuff, they kind of just blow a possession here, mess things up here. You got to be a really solid team, especially
I feel
against
like
this
the Pacers
Cavs
hit
team.
so many game winners this year, man.
I know they're just such a
Nembhard
wild
always got
card, like
one.
up and down team.
Halliburton had that crazy corner 3.
Yeah, I didn't think too hard about this one. I think the Cavs are just the better team.
All right, so Cavs. The other second round matchup we all have, and this one could be a barn burner, is Celtics Knicks. Great history here, even going back to the old days of the NBA. Celtics often come out on top in those matchups.
Wow.
I'm expecting they will as well. They're the defending champs. Again, I think, and we'll probably talk about it every round, but the Jaylen Brown stuff is kind of hovering over this. The later they go, if his right knee's not right, how good will he be? And if he's not near his best, can they win again? When it comes to the matchup with the Celtics, is there anything about the way matchup with the Knicks. Is there anything about the way New York is built this time around that makes you think this is it? They can do it. This is the team that can beat Boston 4 out of 7 without home court advantage.
Have you seen any of these games between the Knicks and the Celtics this season?
Yes.
Have you seen
Maybe the question should be, can they win a quarter?
Have you seen the season opener with these guys? Have you seen even the recent matchup? Jaylen Brown, wasn't really a big factor in that one. They still lost.
Yeah.
I think there's just something about this specific matchup that gives New York such an issue. Like usually the Knicks have the advantage on the wing. OG and Mikal Bridges, they're great. They're great 2-way wings. Not as good as Boston's. It's like, okay, Cat can shoot the 3 like crazy. Kristaps plays Cat almost to an even. Even the last game you watched, I was like,
and if Boston spreads the floor, how's Cat keeping up?
yeah, and Brunson obviously, is gonna do his thing. I mean, he's an elite player, the captain. You can't doubt the captain, but you gotta do
There's
it
only
against
one captain in New York, and that's Derek Jeter. Okay?
Well, wow, this is like
They can put the C on anybody, but come on, man.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. So you still got to do it against Drew Holiday and Derek White, and even Peyton Pritchard gives them some problems. They got more. Weirdly, the Celtics aren't even a deep team, but when they play them, you're like, oh wow, they got way more quality coming off that bench that you could depend on. So I honestly almost like this as a sweep. I think I picked it as 5, but I might just amend that.
Yeah, I think I took Boston in 6, but I do think I'll take it a step further. I think the Knicks are going to get exposed in this series, and they're going to head into the summer really wondering whether they built a good enough team.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think Cat's going to get exposed on the defensive end. I think you're going to come out of this series looking at Mikal Bridges and thinking is this the guy that we really brought in for 5 first-round picks to be a defensive stopper? Even Jalen Brunson, like you mentioned, I think, great player, but he's going to get, exposed in this series with the Celtics defense. I think the Knicks are going to head into the summer really wondering what they can do with this team because they've, committed so much to this core group. and most of it was built to beat the Celtics.
Yeah.
And they're going to fall way short, and where do they go from there?
It's gonna be interesting because I think they're going. This will be one of the series where Celtics are gonna get creative. They're just gonna ignore Josh Hart. We've
Yeah,
seen
I
a lot
think
of
they
teams
can.
do that. They put their centers on him or whatever. You could put Chris Tapps on Josh Hart, kind of ignore him from three, and just really shut off the lane.
Yeah,
You know?
that'll hurt the Knicks.
Yeah.
And that we're all in agreement. Celtics winning this series fairly easily, which means that 52-year championship drought for the Knicks will go on for
man.
another year.
Wow,
Let's go
thank
to the
Lord.
West. All right, so Will, we both have Warriors-Lakers
Yes.
in the second round.
man.
I think another fantastic series, yet another LeBron versus Curry matchup, but with some new players in new supporting characters in the film. I don't know what that was.
Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, Alex's guy,
We
Gabe
haven't seen Gabe
Vincent,
Vincent versus
Luka, Jimmy.
Jimmy
This
Butler.
this would be a fantastic series. The Lakers would have home court advantage. I would lean Lakers. I think in a what could probably be a 7-game series. I think it's
love
interesting
7, man.
too
Yeah.
because these are both teams that in their first round matchups we talked about having the size disadvantage. Now they can kind of both match up small. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, are you in agreement that the Lakers take it, or are you going to disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I think, man, even watching their last matchup, it was just really fun. You know what I mean? I think that, like, for the casual fan, which is obviously the one that, Adam Silver is trying to go towards, he's like, he got to be rubbing his hands together watching. He might be in all 7
Are
games.
they going to have Mr. Beast do the ceremonial tip-off
Well,
game
you,
one?
you never know, man. Jesser might pop up as well. No, but I think for this series, it would just be, like, such a relief for either team. They're like, man, we just got through the physicality of Houston. Like, man, we just got through the physicality of Minnesota. We can just play each other, and
Yeah.
it'll be sort of more even. I mean, this will be a great series. But I think, ultimately, the Lakers' size on the perimeter, in particular, the fact that they can play through Luka like that, they can play through LeBron. Yeah, I mean, I would pick them in 7. But, I mean, I think ultimately Steph has enough juice,
Yeah.
and Jimmy Butler has enough juice to at least push it and win 3 games of their own. I mean,
Yeah.
you got the Houston Rockets.
I was
in
going
a
to say,
situation,
yeah,
right?
we need to see that series, but Alex doesn't even have it. So we've
Yeah.
both got Lakers in a potential Lakers-Warriors series.
Yes.
Alex, you have Rockets-Lakers in the West
I got
semis.
the Lakers.
Wow.
Lakers got their own size, so no physicality is gonna push them around. Gabe Vincent, again, is my X factor here in the second round. So we find ourselves all towards the same path of Lakers in the conference finals.
Okay.
Small detail.
Now let's talk about how or who's going to meet the Lakers
Uh-oh.
in the West Finals. So we have Thunder Clippers in the second round. We all have Thunder Clippers in the second round. I'm going Thunder. Like, I think the Clippers can push them.
Yeah.
I've given them a lot of respect. If you paid attention when we were talking about the first round. So it's not like I think the Thunder are going to wipe the floor with them, but we're talking about a 68-win team with, it's not often you can say Kawhi isn't the best player in the series when he's on his game. He
He's
would
not.
not be the best player in the series because Shea Gilgeous-Alexander would be in this series. The Thunder are, like we talked about the Clippers balance, the Thunder are as balanced as it gets. They're deep. They've got a bunch of shooters and defenders coming off the bench. Like, they're going to have home
they
court
got size
advantage.
now.
They got size now. They addressed that one glaring need. The rebounding is still an issue, but I just think for as much respect as I gave the Clippers, and maybe if they another matchup, I would have picked them to get to the conference finals. They're not beating the Thunder 4-7, right?
No, I you got to give you respect to OKC, man. They've been clearly the best team for me all season. They've been really dominant. They have a higher gear than most other teams. I think, the Clippers, I think, will offer them some real issues. I think maybe at times they really will struggle to guard Kawhi. I mean, like, let's be real. Playoff Kawhi, if he's healthy and he's at this level, the physicality, the size, you can maybe double team him. He's not maybe the best passer, but other than that, man, I mean, especially
Pretty close to
I was
flawless.
filming this thing in Toronto. I'm like, man, we got to give Kawhi ultimate respect.
I get it.
But I mean, honestly though, like even in a close game, I think I probably prefer Shea. Like especially with how much younger he is now and his creativity. He's added the pull-up 3 to his game too. It's just and then the depth too. I mean, the Clippers are actually pretty deep of their own. You even mentioned Batum, another low-key favorite. Your 2 favorite players in LA are Nick Batum and Gabe Vincent, which is incredible. But
I would have fought with Calvin Booth too. if I was in those organizations.
yeah. So, but ultimately, I think OKC is a better team.
Okay, so Will and I have Thunder Lakers in the West final. Alex, are we going 3 for 3 here? Or are you going to pick the Clippers? To
Yeah, I got sucked into the Clippers again.
Oh,
I
man, so you
sucked
got
into
an
the
all
Clippers.
LA West final.
Give us your case. Give it. And
Wow,
don't-
you really are working for Adam Silver.
Give me your case that doesn't include your number 2 option is Jalen Williams, because I know that's your go-to move.
No, but yo, that is
your
a fair
go-to
thing. Listen,
move,
I
man.
love J-Dub. I think he's going to be a perennial all-star.
I
But,
still need to see it.
but
what
it is
about
a
his
fa-
game that makes people doubt it? You
No,
know what I mean?
I agree. Like, I
Just
don't doubt
need
it.
to see it.
But I could see why someone would be like, yo, I don't know if that guy's the number 2 on a championship team. I think he is, and I think he can be immediately, but I can see why people...
All right.
I respect what OKC did. They're a super dominant regular season team. Playoffs to me is a different beast. I've seen dominant playoff teams like in recent years not make it through in the playoffs. I remember how much we talked about the 2019 Bucks team that looked historical, and then when things slowed down when they got into matchups, you know, to me I look
Who
at
beat
it.
them? Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, exactly. And when I look at this as a matchup, and it's no disrespect to OKC, to me in a playoff environment, this is a pretty toss-up for me between the Clippers and OKC. And I'm picking with my heart. I know I'm going with 2 guys, 2 of the most unreliable playoff guys, you know, Kawhi because of availability and James Harden because of performance, but I'm doing it.
All right.
Plus,
okay.
Ty Lue's a better coach.
Wow, okay.
No, I've never seen a Mark Dagno.
Yeah, this guy's a Mark Dagno hater.
Yo, OKC's going to find
It's like,
me,
let me
man.
see Mark Dagno adjusting the.
Yo, I could never go to OKC again.
Damn, cancel
That'll
those
be a
summer
first.
plans to Tornado Valley. All right. Recapping our second round pick. So we all have a Cleveland-Boston East final. Will and I have a Thunder-Lakers West final. Alex has a Lakers-Clippers
Battle of LA
West
when you
final.
least expected
Love it. Okay. Conference finals. Let's get through this. I think Boston-Cleveland is a fantastic matchup. Going 7
Fantastic.
games.
Yeah.
Again, giving all the respect in the world to a really good two-way Cavs team that won 64 games, earned home court advantage in this series throughout the East playoffs. And I'll say it for the 30th time, the Jaylen Brown stuff does concern me the deeper we
Sure.
go,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I still think Boston's the better team. They're the defending champs.
Yeah.
I think when push comes to shove, if I think it's that much of a toss-up, I'm going with the team that I still believe is better, despite what the win totals in the regular season say. I still think Jason Tatum is the best player in this series.
Yes.
I think, you know, for as great a season as Kenny Atkinson and the Cavs had, I'll take Joe Mazzulla's little quotes, you know, his psychotic behavior. I think he's a genius in his own way.
Yeah, sure.
So everything's leaning Boston for me. Giving the Cavs enough credit that it's going 7, but
7. Yeah.
I think the Celtics are coming back out of the East.
Yeah, I don't think anything, and this is not to take away from Cleveland's regular season, but nothing has changed from the start of the season to now with Boston as the favorite, like coming out of the East. Favorites to win the championship. The only, the Jaylen Brown thing might, you know, if that's something that's still an issue in that round, that might swing it a little bit. But yeah, I think Boston's the clear better team here. I don't see how Cleveland can win 4 games against Boston.
I think in order for Cleveland to like pull off the massive upset, and this would be a massive upset, I think Evan Mobley needs to be not just like a effective help defender and
Tim Duncan time.
Like he needs to like shut down, take on matchups 1-on-1, come up with big stops and big moments when he's out on an island and switching. And I mean, first off, you shouldn't be targeting him on switch anyway.
Yeah.
You should probably look at Garland first more than anything else. But like, you know what I mean? Come up with these huge moments where some of these games he actually has that potential to be the best player in that series. And I think like he's gotten a lot of momentum. I think he's shown a lot in his young career. But you know, this is the type of matchup where I think physically he has the youth to get around a guy like Al Horford. He has the youth to get around a guy like, you know, Kristaps, and then he has the size to power through some of like, you know, obviously, you know, Boston's going to switch a lot, and so you're going to have to use your size to sort of switch through it. I think he's done a really good job this season driving the ball in addition to shooting the 3 from the outside, but I don't know. I mean, if you're telling me who's going to be a better player between that or Tatum, I'd take pick. I mean, Tatum's had such a good year, man.
And that's the thing. In a series, in a matchup, I think is that close. I started asking myself, like, what do I trust most about these two teams, and what do I trust least? The thing I trust most is probably Jason Tatum and the Celtics in general, consistency. And if there's one thing I trust the least, even though they've both worked their asses off on that end, even though they have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley behind them, the thing I trust the least is the backcourt defense and the size on the perimeter of the Cavs that deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I would hope, especially if you're a Celtics fan, that like they look to attack and drive that thing. Like instead of just like shooting over the top, because you can always shoot over the top of Garland. You can probably always shoot over the top of even Mitchell, who's not that tall, but like drive those guys to the rim, force rotations, and get a better shot. I trust the Celtics have a better gear in this sense.
So we're 3 for 3 here. We've got the Celtics, the defending champions, repeating at least as East champions and getting to the finals. Let's move to the West. We both have Thunder Lakers in the West Finals. I'm going Thunder, and this is where, for as much respect as I'll give LeBron and Luka, this is where I don't even think it's much of the series. I think the Thunder are that much better than ever. Like I think Thunder Clippers is a better, more competitive matchup in the second round than Thunder Lakers will be in the conference finals. I mentioned 68 wins, one of 7 teams in history to do that. Best point differential of all time.
Yep.
The teams that are now 2nd to 5th all time in point differential all won championships. There's just, they finished 16 games ahead of second place. That's the biggest gap between a conference's 2 teams since like the 1976 Warriors and Sonics. So like, there's no way to look at this.
Sonics?
There's no way to look at this if you're and say the Thunder aren't just so much better than everyone in the West.
Yeah.
Nothing about them are paper tigers. They got an MVP front runner in his prime. None of their best 3 players none of their best players are one-way players. They're both like they're not susceptible or vulnerable on either end. So
sure.
Agree, disagree? Are you going to talk me down here? You got the Lakers in the finals?
No, I don't have the Lakers in the finals. I don't.
But am I giving OKC too much credit and the Lakers not enough? Maybe, and like how competitive this series could be.
I think again, you'd probably see some more creative defenses. I think especially. Maybe the best way to beat OKC would be you put them in a zone. OKC drives the ball a ton. Like they're drive. Everyone can drive. Like put them in a bit of a zone. You got to hope, obviously, they're not hot from 3, which certainly they got lots of shooters to shoot from 3. But like, you would have to get really creative. And again, this is where I'm leaning on JJ Redick to not just like do it in the regular season in terms of the creativity, but also sort of bring that matchup into the postseason setting. I mean, it's not like the Lakers haven't beat OKC.
No.
You know what I mean? And the Lakers have gotten some. Like, as much as OKC has great defenders, I mean, have you seen the shot makers? Like, what Luka has been doing? I mean, what Austin Reeves has been doing recently.
7.
Well, before we toss it to Alex for his thoughts on an all LA West final, the one thing I will say is that, kind of a joking reference to Gabe Vincent, but in general is if there's a couple things the Thunder are still vulnerable to, it's on the glass.
Yeah.
But the Lakers aren't exactly the team that's going to exploit that with their size.
No,
But
no.
the other thing is the one thing they will concede are corner threes. They give up the highest variance of corner threes in the league. And that ended up coming back to bite them in the playoffs last year when the lower-seeded Mavs, on a lot of shots created by Luka Doncic, rained threes from their role players, and everyone's like, it's unsustainable. And in an 82-game season, that's unsustainable. But in a 7-game series, you can get hot if they're conceding those looks because of everything else they do defensively. If there's a guy who's going to create those looks, it's Luka, maybe LeBron. Alex's guy, Gabe Vincent, maybe is this year's PJ Washington or whatever, and just catches fire from 3. I don't know
what is actually possible. I don't want to laugh. Gabe Vincent's been playing great. I think the other thing too is like OKC thrives so much on forcing turnovers, and one of the benefits of having Luka and LeBron is you slow the game down. It's just them attacking mismatches. There's not a lot of opportunities for turnovers to happen. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they're relying on like pass, cut like the Warriors, and then they could somehow. We've seen the Warriors have lots of untimely turnovers. Like this is like a classic style of like slow it down, give it to your best player. You're not forcing a bunch of turnovers there. You can't gamble your way into like you're either giving up an open 3, or you're sort of playing more 1-on-1. And yeah, I don't know. I would still take OKC. I like their depth. I like their youth more. I think ultimately, if Luka was maybe in better condition, I think I'd probably take him.
Okay,
once again,
Nico Harrison.
Goodness, man. Yo, if he wasn't drinking so many beers, I would take him. But I got OKC in this.
Okay,
one too.
so Will and I both have OKC coming out the West. Alex, all LA West final. Tell us how it's going to go down.
Yeah, so in my hypothetical world, after the second round, Shea's back in Hamilton, working at the Converse store. Jalen Williams is in the gym working on his mid-range jumper.
Wow.
And we finally get our streetlights over spotlights matchup that we've been dying for like 5 years. Unfortunately, the Clippers run ends here. I'm gonna go with the Lakers because the Lakers run LA, and there's no way the Clippers are getting that over on the Lakers. This is a very narrative-driven analysis. Gabe Vincent, huge 3 to win Game 3. Rui Hachimura with a Robert Horry type buzzer-beating 3 to win Game 4. Wow. Just Lakers. Lakers have been steeped in just good luck for their entire franchise's history. This year, getting Luka, they're going to somehow pull off like 2 or 3 inexplicable wins over the Clippers, even though the Clippers are the better team over the course of the series. And Adam Silver gets LeBron and Luka in the finals.
Wow.
All right, so just to recap, we've got Alex going with a Lakers Celtics.
Let's go.
Final.
Classic.
Talk about Adam Silver.
Adam
and
Silver
his
played.
dream. Will and I both have Thunder Celtics in the final.
Boo.
Alex, let's actually start with you this time because it's interesting when you talk about Lakers Celtics and you talk about who was it hitting a big shot? You were talking about Robert.
Well,
Horry hitting a
Gabe
big
Vincent and Rui
Yeah,
Hachimura.
yeah, and all those guys.
Man.
But no, what it
Ooh,
reminded me
dang.
of is, it reminded me of the fact that when the Lakers got, and Luka Doncic is a better overall player than Pau Gasol, but when the Lakers traded for Pau Gasol in 2008,
Yeah.
and that took them
Immediately.
from like, solid playoff team to finals team, and they end up matching up with a great Celtics team in the finals, and they lose. So my question for you is this going to follow the same script as 2007, 2008? Huge European edition midseason carries them to the NBA finals, and they lose to the Celtics, or will they avenge that and actually win the title?
Yeah, this is why me and you are me and you, because this is literally the script that I wrote as I was making the picks. Is that this is the Pau Gasol year for the Lakers. They get to the finals. Great storylines, right? LeBron versus the Celtics has been well documented. Luka comes back, back to back, going against Boston, but ultimately Boston is the better team. Boston is a better overall team. Al Horford from the corner for 3. Bang!
Oh, God.
These
All right.
Celtics
These role players are so
clinch
prominent.
Game 7. I got the Celtics in 7. It'll be a great series. The NBA is back. We're gonna hear from Bob Cousy. We're gonna hear from
man.
Magic Johnson. We're gonna hear from
course.
all these guys.
Tradition, man.
Yeah, I'm careful not to name people who might have passed away. RIP. But yeah, Boston ultimately the best team, and they become the first repeat champs since the Warriors.
By the way, in this comparison of the Pau Gasol is Luka Doncic going to the Lakers and this finals matchup, that means unfortunately AD is Kwame Brown.
Oh, jeez.
Another way AD just got disrespected.
He can't
for
even
no
be Andrew
reason.
Bynum. He's going to be Kwame Brown.
No,
All right.
Andrew Bynum stays on the team.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, he took a different path to get there because he had them beating the Lakers, but he does have the Celtics
Yeah.
repeating as champions. Will, I'll give you the next word. Are the Celtics repeating as champions by beating the Thunder?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I
damn.
don't like this, man. But I think ultimately it's just the 3-point shooting from the Celtics. They've hacked the game, man. It's all 3-and-D guys, and they shoot 53s. They're able to switch everything on defense. I mean, as much as Shea, I think, can probably average like over 30, I would say, in a series like this. You could see him, be great, take the next step in greatness. It's just like the team around him is just not as good as the team that like the Celtics have put together collectively, and I feel like it'll be a really great series. I think, at first it'll probably need a little bit more selling. It's not as, readily available. It's not box office like Lakers, Celtics.
I think people will be excited
Yeah.
though. Okay,
Yeah. Your
Yeah.
boy Jalen Williams proves himself.
Yeah.
He lifts the Larry O'Brien trophy.
One of them might. Yeah.
I mean, he's probably got to like really like play Jaylen Brown to an even, if not play better than him. Which I don't know. Jaylen Brown's had kind of a weirdly down year.
And that knee
And
for the
that knee,
35th
sure,
time.
Yeah, you never know.
Seriously, though,
Chris
man, like-
Tapps is injury prone. He might just randomly in this game. Al Horford's 46. Like,
Yeah, no,
that
but
happens, man.
for real, man. Like I'm not trying to make light or a joke out of a guy who might be hurt or isn't 100%. But
Sure.
that is a big storyline when you are talking about defending your title. Like I said, it's a 9-week marathon, 4 rounds, a couple tough series. Whoever comes out of the West is going to be a dogfight of a series. So like, if all things are equal, neutral site, both teams have full strength. And I think it's going to go like 7. I could probably convince myself the Celtics are going to win because I've seen them do it. And I'm like, maybe the Thunder just need one more year of seasoning. But if that goes 7 in OKC with...
in Paycom,
no, but we know how... Listen,
they're not sitting down until they make the first bucket.
Listen, and we know how rowdy that crowd would be in a playoff series. But
Sure.
seriously, like home court advantage
Yeah.
with the best player in the series...
Yeah.
As the 68-win team who's been miles ahead of any other team all year,
Yeah.
with the defending champions having their second best player wonky going into the playoffs, let alone 7 to 9 weeks later,
Sure.
there are just too many variables there on the Celtics side that I can't trust as much as I usually would with the defending champs, as well-built as they are. And at some point with a team like the Thunder and the season they had, I just have to believe it. You know what I mean? Like they're this good, and they've
They
got
are.
the players
They-
and the
they-
roster and the coaching and all that to back it up. So yeah, I'm Thunder. I'm going with the team that's been dominating the league like all year. A team that dominated in ways few teams in the 79-year history of the NBA have.
Yes.
I just don't think there are many questions left to ask of this team. So there you have it. I've got the Thunder winning it over the Celtics. Alex has the Celtics beating the Lakers, and Will has the Celtics beating the Thunder. By the way, like I said, I'm going with the Thunder over at the Score Bet right now. They are plus 180 to win the title. The field is minus 250. Those are how we see it all breaking down, all shaking
Man,
out.
Jalen Williams doing what Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden.
Real
Serge
quick.
Ibaka could not.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. The Thunder, Shea and company doing what KD
That
and
would be
those
a hell
guys
of a
never
story,
could.
man.
Russ, it would be a hell of a
It would be
story.
the perfect ending to the perfect season.
Yeah.
It really would be.
And also, in a roundabout way, we know KD would somehow end up catching strays on Twitter and end up having to tweet his way
KD
through it.
tweeting
So
through the whole
there's
thing,
good content.
He
Good
hosting a Twitter
content.
Spaces for that game.
Good content all around. Real quick before I let you guys go, I've got, obviously, if the Thunder are winning it, I've got Shea Finals MVP. Are you guys both going Tatum, or you guys got like a surprise Finals MVP pick?
This guy got somehow Gabe Vincent's won Finals MVP despite not being
As
in
a
the finals.
losing cause?
Him and Gabe Vincent and Jerry West, Lakers icons, losing cause Finals
No,
MVPs.
the Finals MVP will be Al Horford.
Wow.
Goodness, man. Nah, of course it's gonna be Tatum. Tatum gonna get it. Come on, man.
Yeah,
Come
which he didn't get last year. Remember, Jalen got it. So
Tatum deserved it, you know. But
completes the resume already with a Finals MVP.
God, the
All
most
right.
boring superstar does it again.
Wow.
He's not
Couldn't
interesting.
even play on Team USA. Okay.
Goodness, man. He's listing Deuce one hand, the trophy in other hand. Great.
Yo, what celebrations is he gonna recreate this year, man?
Oh, man.
I think he's run out.
Deuce, this is for you. You gotta bring Deuce to the podium.
Anything is possible. All right.
Yeah.
Anything is possible when I got you guys here. That's how we're gonna
Wow.
put a
Great
bow on
ending.
this one. Appreciate you coming in, spending 45 minutes to an hour, and all the prep you did to go series by series, round by round. I don't need to tell the people out there, but obviously make sure you are listening, downloading, sharing the Hello and Welcome podcast and any content Will and Alex put out. So for Will Liu and Alex Wong, for Zach and Maddie in the control room, my name is Joseph Casciaro. This has been The Unfiltered Show. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next week.